Bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Seconds before we went live, we get the report from Rappaport. Brett Rippon to start for the Rams in week 9. Brutal spot. I think that at this point we can say, okay, well, these Los Angeles Rams guys, probably not exciting, right? At least in the case of the secondary pieces. Like if you're going to be looking at, say, I don't know, Darrell Henderson. No, you cannot start Darrell Henderson anymore. Maybe they run the ball more, but overall the offense will be worse. Less trips to the red zone. If we're going to go over and look at Puka, we can say, okay, well, yeah, Puka's obviously been phenomenal. But at the end of the day, if you find yourself in a situation where he's dealing with a backup quarterback and at the same time, he is dealing with his own injury, I don't know. At this point, I want to say, well, we probably need to be pivoting off of Puka and finding another option if you can. I think it'd be different if Puka himself was fully healthy. Obviously, it'd be different if Stafford was playing. If Stafford was playing, you play Puka regardless. But now with a banged up Puka and Brett Rippon being the starting quarterback for the Rams, I think that we are probably having to stay away from that situation if we can. I think we covered the majority of the other injury news with the video earlier today. I'll be happy to go through and reiterate if y'all have any questions on what we should be expecting with any other players here. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to just ask them in the live chat. Like I said, I'd be really happy to go through and look at those. But let's start diving into some of the questions we have here. First one coming out from Core says, love the vids, man. Thanks for all your advice. So thank you so much for being a long time member of the flock. You know, I appreciate you. And have a good day says, flex Chuba Hubbard or Dalton Kincaid. Now, if I was going to be valuing these guys in trades, I would definitely rather have Dalton Kincaid over Chuba Hubbard. I mean, the positional advantage that you're going to be getting at that tight end slot in comparison to what we have elsewhere at running back. Like, obviously, you want the tight end that's going to give you that level of production. But if we're figuring out who we're putting into our starting lineup, there's no way in hell we're going to go through and put in a tight end over a starting running back in my flex. I mean, I understand the thought process here. I love Dalton Kincaid for this week, but at the end of the day, he's still a tight end that we've had one solid week of production from versus a running back who's going to start all 3 downs. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Kincaid. Kobe says Jacoby, Hollywood, or Tank Dell this week. Now that you have no Kyler Murray, I'm going to go with Jacoby. And also, why is Pollard not a sell high? Because if you're looking at Pollard, and trust me, I wish I could come out here and continue to say, oh, Pollard's someone that we want nothing to do with. Y'all know earlier in the season, that's what we were saying. I mean, Pollard is someone that I am significantly underweight on in drafts. But, I mean, even as someone who did not bet on Pollard coming into the year, I can at least look at this situation and go, oh, okay, well, Pollard's averaging 15 carries per game. He's averaging almost 5 receptions per game. Pretty damn good spot. He's probably going to start scoring touchdowns a little more frequently soon as well. So, no, Pollard definitely not a sell high. I think that Pollard, I don't want to say it's a buy low, but damn close to it. Jeep guy, happy to see us. Says, hey, Mason, 4-4, double flex. Just traded JT Flowers, Gibbs, Taysom for Eckler, Evans, Kyler, and Kincaid. We lost Waller. What are your thoughts? Thanks, man. Appreciate you, my friend. And yes, brutal spot for you, losing your guy. I am sorry about that, my friend. But going from JT to Eckler, clear upgrade. Flowers to Evans, I'd call it an upgrade, kind of up to you. Gibbs to Kyler, downgrade, but we are getting the upgrade at tight end as well. I think it does make a lot of sense. Yeah, if you lost Darren Waller and you can go out there and pay up at this price point for someone like Dalton Kincaid, I really do like that, my friend. Now, Sean says, hey, Mason, start 3. Downs, Rice, Chuba, Darrell Henderson, Tank Dell, or Christian Watson. We're going to go with Chuba Hubbard with the guaranteed workload. I'm going to go with Rashee Rice as well in the high-scoring game. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and play Christian Watson. Really, I'm not as interested about Darrell Henderson now that you have no Matthew Stafford. And, I mean, in the case of Josh Downs, he himself is not fully healthy, right? So I don't necessarily know how excited we can be about that. But, oh my gosh. Real quick, I'm sorry, we're going to go right back to where we were. We have a probably the largest donation that we've had on the live stream in months. Thank you so much, Trevor, coming out, Dropping 100, says Mason Dodd, the hair god. I mean, we got about 10 of these bad boys left, my friend. Hopefully we can keep them a little bit longer. But first, 12-team at BBR, we have Herbert, Chase, Keenan, JT, Jacobs. We need one between Ramondre or Zay. I think I'm going to go Ramondre over Zay. I mean, if you're going to look at just the baseline expectation, if you look at the pick'ems that we have with these guys, you do have Ramondre Stevenson at 70 total yards. You have the Patriots as 3.5 point favorites in this game as well. They should possibly be able to run the ball in the second half, which obviously is a first for this team, at least this year. Second, we traded Pickens for Gibbs 2 weeks ago. Hell yes. Should I move him for Pollard or package him with Hawkinson for Kelsey? Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, my friend. And I would say based off how strong this team currently looks, where we have JT and Jacobs already at running back, I would almost be fine with either one of these deals. If you wanted to go out there, if you wanted to sell Gibbs and Hawkinson and go get Travis Kelsey, I think it makes a lot of sense when this team is this strong. And obviously, we have the Kirk Cousins injury here in terms of what we are looking at for Hawkinson rest of season. But then also Gibbs versus Pollard. I definitely think that we would rather have Pollard rest of season as well. So, I mean, it is really just going to be up to you here. I think that either trade would be great, but I am probably pivoting off of Jahmyr Gibbs at this price tag. I think maybe it comes down to what you're sitting with on the bench, right? If you're looking at your bench and you're saying, well, you know what, man? I mean, I have 3 or 4 guys that I'd feel comfortable starting down here. Then in reality, you probably don't need to add in that other running back in return. And instead you can prioritize just going out there and picking up the elite level tight ends. So if you're in that situation where you have a lot of that depth at running back and wide receiver on the bench, let's go get Kelsey. Whereas if you would sell Gibbs and then feel a little bit questionable about your depth, then at that point, I'm actually probably going to go ahead and probably just sell him for Pollard. But regardless, would really like the deal, my friend. And give me one, and thank you so much for the support. I really, really do appreciate it. And give me 1 second to find Jay's question one more time. And as I do this, let me remind you, if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK is going to get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And a few of my favorite pick'ems that I have for this week, we're going to go Christian Watson for more than 42.5 receiving yards. He had 8 targets last week in this offense. And we're going to go Terry McLaurin for fewer than 63.5 total yards. And also Code Flock will get you a Lamar Jackson special pick of more than less than half a total yard as well. Now, Jay says, what do you think about my Dynasty team? 12-team, 1 quarterback league where we have Watson, Bijan, Najee, Warren, Roshan, Lamb, Puka, Waddle, Higgins, Olave, Waller, and Logan Thomas. It's an interesting team in that I think that we are not that juggernaut type contender where, you know, no matter what, this team is going to be the mix, and no matter what, this team is going to be with a real shot to win the league. But at the same time, like, we're close enough to contend where I don't necessarily think that we need to burn it down. So I think a lot of this would come down to the record, where if this team was, say, sitting at 2-6 or 3-5, I'd say, you know what, man, let's probably go through and sell some of these veteran assets. Let's see if we can go move off of Darren Waller and get anything. Let's see if we can go move off of Najee Harris and get anything. Whereas here, I mean, if you are maybe on the other end of the spectrum and you're 5-3, we could say, oh, okay, maybe we go to the other end of the spectrum and maybe we look to sell some of this younger wide receiver depth and go get someone out there that's going to be a stud producer right now. So I think you are in an interesting spot where you are kind of in the middle of the road there, and it depends on your record. Now, Machiavelli says 8-team PBR double flex, 8-1. We have Lamar, Hill, Adams, Jefferson, Olave, Ayuk, Jacobs, Walker, Saquon, Javonte, Connor, White, Hawkinson. Just sent Jacobs and Hawkinson for Kelsey. Worried about Jefferson now. I think in an 8-team league, that was a no-brainer deal. Love selling the depth. Love going out there and getting the elite level player. Now, I 100% understand why you'd be worried about Justin Jefferson. And if you could pivot off Jefferson and get to A.J. Brown, get to Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously do that in a heartbeat. But the issue is, it's probably not going to be possible, right? A lot of people are worried about Justin Jefferson. So I just simply don't think you're going to be able to make a move like that, if I'm going to be honest with you. Now, Clutchbox says 12-team BBR Superflex. Should I trade CMC, Allen, Ridley, and Gabe for Tyreek, Eckler, Bijan, and MT? So CMC to Eckler, downgrade. Keenan to Tyreek, upgrade. Ridley to Bijan, upgrade. Gabe Davis to Michael Thomas, who cares? I would say 99.999% of the time, I'm going to say, no, you do not want to be selling Christian McCaffrey. This is one of those very rare instances where it does seem like it's a fair deal. And if you wanted to go out there and make it, you can. But I want to reiterate, it's that very rare instance where, I mean, at the end of the day, we are sitting here with a deal where we're getting Tyreek Hill back in return, right? So we're getting the CMC of the wide receiver position. Now, Eddie says, trade JT or Mixon for DeAndre Swift. I'd probably trade Mixon over JT. He wants JT, but I might be able to package Mixon to get Swift. We also have AJ and Roshan Khalil. Thanks for the content. Appreciate you, my friend. I think all these players are in somewhat a similar range. I'd probably rank them Swift, JT, then Mixon, but they are very close, and I think it comes down to your personal preference. Steve says, have BBR start Carr or Howell. We're going to go Carr. And then we had Cousins, Watson, and Goff. Brutal, my friend. I mean, Watson's going to go, right? Watson's going to go. You can start Watson over them if you potentially want. I mean, if you really wanted to. Now, Yurbo says, Douglas or Quentin Johnson? Thanks. Thank you. I mean, I am hoping that we get a solid week from Quentin Johnson with no Joshua Palmer. But I feel like if Johnson was going to do anything, we would have seen it already. And it's not the best matchup in the world. So I would say under no circumstance, we probably have to go Douglas, right? Under no circumstance can I go and confidently say, yeah, let's just start Quentin Johnson. No, that's impossible. Now, Angus says Charbonnet and Devontae for Devonta Smith and Isaiah Pacheco. Fair deal. I think it comes down to what you're expecting from this Raiders offense with the change at quarterback and coaching staff. LeBronosaurus Rex has thoughts on Watson versus Stroud this week. I would be fine if you wanted to go Stroud this week and say we're going to go with Watson in the long term, but we want to see Watson fully healthy. I think you could do that if you wanted. Hayden says, double flex, Watson, Cook, KJ, Devin Singletary. We're going to go James Cook, Devin Singletary, and then Dak, Russ, Kyler rest of season. We'll probably go Dak rest of season. Trying to think through this, my friend. I mean, the issue that you're going to have looking at, say, Kyler rest of season is the rushing is probably not going to be the same level that it was pre-torn ACL. Jesse says, how do you normally deal with undrafted free agent waiver wire pickups in a keeper league? Can you keep them next year? I.e. Puka, big argument in my league. So the leagues that I played in previously that were keeper leagues, now I primarily just stick to full-blown dynasty, is essentially you can keep them and they would cost the last round keeper. Like, I mean, I think if you're going to go out there and you're the guy that identifies Puka and you pick him up off the waiver wire, I think you should be able to go through and you should be able to take advantage of that the following season, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that you should not only get to keep them, but I think they should also only cost your last round pick. Now, today's full says, start to must-win week, full BBR, 12-team league. Ford, Gus Edwards, and James Cook. I know most people are going to disagree with us on this, but I think we may end up going James Cook here as much as it pains me to say. I mean, if you look at my flex rankings this week, I had Ford ranked at 50. I have James Cook at 52. You play Edwards no matter what. I think that on the other end, between Ford and James Cook, it's going to come down to if Leonard Fournette's playing. If Fournette were to play, then I think you're going to go ahead. I think that you are going to take Ford, and if Fournette does not play, I think we go Cook. Now, Cora says 10-team, full BBR, 2 receivers, 1 flex. We have Hurts, Walker, Gibbs, Hill, AJ Brown, Andrews, Rice, Dell, Palmer, Samuel, Amari, Charbonnet. Trade Gibbs, Rice for Higgins, Madison. And any other trade, 7-1, thinking of playoffs, and don't have a solid flex play right now. First off, again, thank you so much for everything. Now, going from Gibbs to Higgins, I would say, honestly, at this point, even if I really do like Higgins rest of season, it's hard not to call that a downgrade, right? And then going Rice to Madison, especially as he's in that split backfield currently with Cam Akers, and now you have no Kirk Cousins, so it's going to be a little bit more of a running back by committee. I think we would have to say that's a downgrade as well. So to be honest with you, my friend, I probably would rather just have Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, I think we're going to go Gibbs here. Dave says, Herbert for Burrow. We have Chase and Keenan for the dangerous duo. Also, Aaron Jones or Puka in the flex. Crazy to say now, but I think that we are probably going to go ahead and we'll probably take Aaron Jones based off no Matthew Stafford, based off Puka being hurt, and based off this coaching staff telling us that Aaron Jones is fully good to go. And then between Herbert, Burrow, I'm going to go Burrow rest of season, with Herbert obviously seeing a considerable amount of injuries in his offense. Now, Tank Tone says flex DK, Hubbard, or Puka. I think we're probably going to go ahead and go DK Metcalf under the assumption it's a full PPR format. I'm going to reiterate, not super excited about Puka at this moment. I mean, with Puka, this is a wide receiver that he himself is injured, and now you have no Matthew Stafford. Obviously, Puka's been phenomenal this season, but I think we should be realistic with expectations this week, and I think expectations shouldn't be too high. Now, Mad Max says, start Cup over Olave. Yeah, I probably would. Cup himself is healthy. Obviously, it sucks having no Stafford. It's close, but I think we go Cup. And if so, for the flex, between Smith, Higgins, Moore, or Jerome Ford, I'm leaning T on Sunday night. I think if you want the floor, you're going to go DJ Moore. If you want the ceiling, we're going to go T. I mean, the issue that you may end up having with T is he just didn't play the full amount of snaps this past week, which is very frustrating. I'd love to go out there and tell everybody to play T. Higgins, but it's much, much tougher to say that at this point. And then Ferguson, McBride, or Gerald Everett for the streamer. I think now that you have no Kyler Murray, I'm going to be fine saying, well, let's just go ahead and let's just play McBride. I'm sorry, let's sit McBride and let's go Ferguson. I think Ferguson, despite him having the tougher matchup, has the longer track record of drawing targets. And it's just going to be in the much better offense, right? Where McBride's very exciting in the long term, but it's a horrible matchup going up against the Browns, and it's a bad offense. Now, Logan says, Puka, Johnston, Dobbs, or Cooks for the flex. Thank you so much. No, thank you. Obviously, we're lowering our expectations for Puka, but I think in this range, we definitely start Puka. Now, work for what you want. Always happy to see us. A 7-1, 12-team at BBR. Traded Brees Pittman for Eckler London. Great move. Betting on the better offense, and we have Montgomery, H.N. Warren, Tyreek, Keenan, Gabe, JSN, and Hawkinson. Yeah, so we're going through, and we are making the consolidated bet on the Chargers there as well, which I really do like. But thank you so much for being a long time member of the flock, my friend, and congrats on the 7-1 start. Now, Muskendahl says, Madison, Keontae, or Darrell Henderson ranked them this week. Probably going to go Henderson, Madison, then Keontae. Keontae will be in the worst offense out of them. And also, I mean, hell, has a very tough matchup going up against Cleveland. In says traded Etienne, Devonta Smith for Eckler and DK Metcalf. Now we have Hurts, Pickett, Eckler, Chuba, Fournette, Puka, Waddle, DK, Deontay, and Njoku, Henry for the 20-team league. Love to see it, my friend. Any last-minute moves? Should we move Puka? Thinking about DK and Njoku for Evans and Pitts. You can make that move. That's more of like a lateral move. and almost up to you if we're just going to be moving within the same wide receiver tier and the same tight end tier as well. I think in the short term with the Drake London injury, I definitely like it. In the long term, I think maybe it's going to be a little bit tougher to say so here. Trying to think. I think you can do it, but it really is up to you. It really is up to you. Isaac says trade Cook for Javonte. I think based off the usage that we saw this past week, yeah, I'd rather have Javonte over James Cook. If you would have asked me last week, I'd have said hell no. Joel says full BBR, need a flex. Amari, Ford, Collins, Godwin, Henderson. Thanks, bro. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead. I'll probably play Amari Cooper here in a full BBR format in a good matchup against Arizona. And now we have Deshaun Watson fully good to go and fully healthy. Now, I'm says PBR, Bijan, Ramondre, Javonte, Cook. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, Puka, Godwin, Hollywood, Deontay, Nico. Trade Cook and Godwin for Joe Mixon. Yes, if you wanted it, honestly, all the wide receivers are about the same range. Don't sell Lamb or Puka, but if you wanted to flip, say, Godwin with Deontay, Hollywood, or Nico, you can do that. But as we were saying, all those guys are in about the same range, and that is going to be up to you there. Now, Timeout Sports says, Mason, my dude, appreciate the advice. Appreciate you, my friend. 12-team non-BBR, 4-4. Who do we flex? Between Hollywood or Quentin Johnson with no Joshua Palmer. Thank you. Thank you. And it sucks because generally in a non-PBR format, you just want the player in the better offense. I mean, the guy in the better offense can have more touchdown upside, but I would say here we probably instead have to go through and we probably just have to take the player we've seen production from before with Hollywood Brown. I mean, Quentin Johnson is someone that we can start once we actually see him do something. But until then, it will be very difficult. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of y'all are on Underdog just for the pick'ems, but if y'all don't know, I actually spend the majority of my time not with the pick'ems on Underdog and instead drafting on Underdog. And if you wanted to hop into a draft with us, I'm getting into another one right now. There are 3 spots open in my draft lobby. This is the Big Dog Qualifier. This is the $25 buy-in on Underdog. Has the massive, massive prize pool where you get $10,000 for first, second, and third, and a full paid trip to Miami for a live final and a chance at $1 million in prizes. But what's really cool about this tournament right now is you actually have every team that you finish inside the top 2,000, which is about 40% of them. They actually give you your entry back. That's if you draft 10 or more teams. So if you draft 10 or more teams, it is very much plus EV for you to be hopping into those drafts. Now, Inception says $200 auction, 12-team league going into next season. Would you rather keep Amon-Ra for pick 37 or JT for 37? I'm sorry, for 30. Obviously, it's very difficult to know at this point. I would say that if it was a Dynasty league, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown over Jonathan Taylor. But a big time difference between a Dynasty and a Keeper league. Typically, if you're looking at a Keeper league, I mean, you're more so wanting to treat it as if it's a redraft format where it doesn't really matter 3 years down the road. It just kind of matters, oh, this year we're talking about right now. So if you're talking about next year, then yeah, let's go ahead and let's just go JT for the cheaper price, that is. Now, don't Puka under the bed says 10-team at BBR, single flex. We have Hurts, Baker, Hall, Bijan, Henry, Gibbs, Myers, Evans, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Kelsey, Kincaid. Is this a solid team? I'd like to upgrade to Chase. What would be a good package? I think it's a great team. Now, an upgraded Chase will be very difficult, to be honest with you. I think if you were going to make a move like that, you'd be looking to sell one of the running backs. I think you'd have to send away someone like Breece Hall, Devonta Smith to go try to get to Chase. And honestly, in a 10-team single flex format, I wouldn't even mind going through and like throwing in maybe like Dalton Kincaid, where you have Travis Kelce, right? Where Kelsey's not going to, Kincaid's not really going to be doing much for you there anyway, but great team. Now, Young Log says, I'm 6-2 in a 12-team PBR double flex. I just traded Walker for Garrett Wilson and Gibbs. Any thoughts? I think in a full PBR 12-team double flex format, this is where I'm fine doing so. The reason being is this is a league where obviously you are getting the additional depth here. And that depth's going to matter when you have to start 2 flexes in a 12-team format. And with it being a full PPR format as well, Jahmyr Gibbs does get the bump up rest of season with his receiving usage. The rest of the team consists of Lamar, Gus, Pittman, Devonta Smith, TJ Chase. And then on the bench, we really didn't have many viable options. So I would say for sure here, we want to go ahead and honestly, I think that we do want to have that depth. But Machiavelli will have our next question. Let me keep on bringing these up. Give me 1 second to do this. And as I find this next one, if you have not done so already, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, or if you wanted to get into our next draft with us, we are in this one at Pick 6. You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Lamar Jackson special pick of more than less than half a total yards. Make sure to take advantage. My favorite pick'ems for this week will be Terry McLaurin for fewer than 63.5 total yards, and Christian Watson for more than 42.5 total as well. Now, Machiavelli says, thanks, 8-team league. I know you like the Jacobs offer, but which is better, the Jacobs or Olave? I would rather trade Olave and Hawkinson for Kelsey and keep Jacobs in an 8-team league. Really think that you are incentivized to go ahead and build around running back and tight ends. And wide receiver is going to be easy to come by. Now, AJ coming out and saying, just traded AJ Brown in Hollywood for Godwin and Justin Herbert. So AJ Brown to Justin Herbert, downgrade. Hollywood to Godwin, lateral move. Who cares? If this is a 1 quarterback format, horrible move. If this is a super flex league, love the move. We have, I apologize. I misread this. Godwin and JT. Okay, well, I'd rather have AJ Brown over Jonathan Taylor. And then Hollywood Godwin, I don't think it really matters. I think it's up to you. I mean, probably Godwin, but it's close. So honestly, I don't like it. I probably would have rather had AJ Brown. We have Herbert, Mostert, Pittman, Addison, Rashee Rice, Watson, Judy, Jason Madison, Hilton Laporta. How do we improve? I think it's a very well-balanced team. I don't necessarily think that there are too many things that we'd be looking to do. I mean, really, a lot of it has to do with us building around rookie wide receivers, right? And when we do that, we just kind of have to commit to being a little bit patient here. I mean, this is going to be a team that just naturally gets better as the season progresses if we can get these rookies continue to expand their role in their respective offenses. Now, Austin says Etienne for Cup or stick with Etienne. I would rather have Etienne over Cup at this point with the Stafford injury. Now, Doodle Bob says, I have Devonta Smith, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, and Aaron Jones. 2 receivers in a flex this week. I don't know what to do. We're going to go with Waddle, Garrett Wilson. And yeah, this is tough. Based off what the coaching staff's coming out and telling us about Aaron Jones, you want to say start Aaron Jones. Devonta Smith had the solid week last week. Really have not had anything in quite some time. For Jones, so it's tough. Start Wilson, Waddle in that last spot. I do think it's going to be up to you. AJ says, I forgot to mention I got Kyron Williams in the deal. Okay, so that does make it better. I still don't know if I love it, but it makes it better. So she says, that would be our flex. Start 2, Rice, Henderson, Dell. I'm going to go Rice and Henderson, even though I am less excited about Henderson with the Stafford injury. Now, Brody says, made some trades, 4-4, PBR league, 3 receivers, 2 flex. How are we looking rest of season? We have Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Mixon, Pacheco, White, Mostert. It's an AB. We got Antonio Brown here, my man. Thielen, Pitts, Nico Wilson, Terry Amari, Andrew Schultz. I think it's a great team. I was about to say, oh yeah, easy move. Let's just go ahead and let's sell. No. Here, this is a league where we want to build around wide receivers, right? I mean, you're sitting here with, say, the ability to start 5 wide receivers from a week-to-week perspective. So we can go out there and we can roll out. I mean, I'm assuming you meant AJ, like AJ Brown. AJ Brown, Adam Thielen, Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper. We can start all 5 of those guys every single week. I mean, that's probably Pittman, not Pitts, right? So I'd say generally, like in a league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, we're definitely looking to sell some of those depth wide receivers. But in that league, no, I think we're chilling, my friend. Now, Joe says Fields, Kyler, Howell, A.J. Brown, Kupp, Waddle, Walker, Aaron Jones, Kyron, Waller, McBride, Adams, Pollard. Traded Pittman for Adams and Flowers, Deontay for Pollard. Single flex, 10-team league. I love both trades. And a 10-team single flex league, give me the best player. Let's sell our wide receiver depth. Guys like Deontay Johnson. If we can pivot over to Tony Pollard, a 3-down running back, that is a no-brainer. Brian says, should we start McBride, Ferguson, or Logan Thomas at tight end? We're going to go with Jake Ferguson, my friend. I don't know if we're excited to go McBride now that we have no Kyler officially. LeBronosaurus Rex says, who are we putting in the flex between Chuba, Brian Robinson, Kincaid, Edwards, and Hunt? I'm going to go Chuba Hubbard because Chuba Hubbard not only is going to have the 3-down workload, but at the same time, he should be involved as a receiver, which we're probably not going to get from Gus Edwards, even if Gus Edwards has obviously been great. Jay says, PBR traded Bijan and Adams for CMC. Good trade? Yeah, I think so. Other receivers are Ridley, Deontay, Godwin, Watson. Also start Douglas or Watson, Amara. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you. I'm going to go Watson over Douglas. I'm really not excited about Douglas. I just don't think you want to be, invested into this offense in general. Now, Kyle says 12-team full BBR, 1 flex spot. We're 5-3. We have Hurts and CMC. Should I trade Smith, Montgomery, Hawkinson for Kupp, Javonte, and Goddard? So Hawkinson and Goddard, slight downgrade, not the worst deal in the world now that you have the Cousins injury. Smith to Kupp, massive upgrade. Montgomery to Javonte, pretty big downgrade as well. I think it'd be a no-brainer if we could keep Montgomery and they keep Javonte. Like if we could send Smith and Hawkinson for Kupp and Goddard, obviously we do it. The running backs do make it a lot closer, and I do think it's up to you there with the RBs, to be completely honest, my friend. Nathan says, should I start Ferguson or McBride and then Henderson or Douglas? We're going to go Henderson, and I'm going to go Ferguson over McBride this week. And Borges says, should we start Carr or Watson? This week, I'm going to go Carr with this implied team total. Rest of season, I will go Watson. Okay. Now, Combat Cash Club, happy to see it says 12-team BBR double flex. We have Tua, Stevenson, Zeke, Flowers, Waddle, Kincaid, Smith, Gabe Davis. And then on the bench, we have Akers, Geno, Dell, Ayuk, Williams, Charbonnet, Kmet. I think we would cut Jamison Williams at this point. If you're telling me we could get Zeke or Zach Charbonnet off the waiver wire, I'd go pick up Zach Charbonnet, cut Jamison. If you have an injury to Kenneth Walker, then Charbonnet's a league winner. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. You're asking if who should we start at RB2? Yeah, then we start Zeke, even if we're not excited about it. On that same tone, though, obviously this is a spot where we're not excited about what we have to play at running back. So I think I would prioritize running back upside down there on that bench over wide receiver depth. So I still think we kind of stand by what we were talking about previously and going through and cutting Jamison Williams. If you can find a running back that you like off of the waiver wire that's possibly an injury away from making a difference. And love the new profile pick, my friend. And Steve says, have BBR 4-4. We have Goff, Kyler, Eckler, Kyron, Gus, Lamb, Waddle, Olave, T, Ingram, Ayuk, Debo. Just traded for Ford and Rice for Olave and Myers for T. Give me T over Myers, Ford and Rice versus Olave. Give me Olave when we have this kind of running back production. Move someone for another running back rest of season. So I would say at this point, sure, if we're going to get Deebo Samuel back in. When we have this kind of wide receiver depth, if you could send, say, Brandon Ayuk and Kyron Williams and go get a great running back, I think that make a lot of sense. And then great team. Honestly, I don't necessarily think that we're having to do anything there if you didn't want to. But ultimately, you are in a phenomenal spot when it comes to the depth there. And I think we almost have an embarrassment of riches in a way. Now, Peter, always happy to see you, my friend, says PBR for the flex. Rice, Addison, Ramondre, or Dell. Tough spot. I'm probably going to go Addison in a full PBR format, even if I really, really do not want to. And then we're starting Hurts, JT, Bijan, Waddle, Higgins, Kincaid. Yeah, keep that as is. I'm leaning Rice, but it's a tough choice. Thank you, sir. No, thank you. I think rest of season, I could be on board of saying, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and let's go Rice. It's just so, right now, I'll probably have a difficult time in doing so. Because, I mean, right now, you still have no Jefferson. So even if this is a horrendous offense, I mean, you just have such a high target share for Jordan Addison in said offense. Combat Clash says, no, that's Javonte. Oh, yeah, Javante's on bye this week as well. Never mind. I'm sorry. I thought you meant it was Jameson whenever we saw the bye. I forgot Javonte was on bye. Then a much better team, honestly. We don't have to do anything then. Now, ZBR Attack says, hey, Mason, I'm 2-6. Happy BR. Get offered Gibson, Kyron for Eckler. If this is a redraft league, it's easily Eckler, my friend. Rest of the team is Herbert, Najee, Keenan, Lockett, Hollywood, Ford, Chuba, Algier, Boyd, Akers. He is offering for next week after the Lions bye. I would maybe, it's definitely a lot closer if he's giving it to us next week, right? That way we get the extra week of Austin Eckler production. I would still probably keep Eckler here. It'd be different if we just had absolutely no depth whatsoever. But I mean, you are sitting here with like Chuba Hubbard stepping into a starting role, right? So if you really needed to go out there and start someone, you could. So I don't know, my friend. I don't know. Joel says, outlook for Christian Watson rest of season. I think he'll be the wide receiver one for the Green Bay Packers. He led the team in targets this week. But ultimately, the issue is the offense is going to be so bad, it's going to be hard to be excited about anybody here, right? So if the offense is this bad, it is what it is. Like, I think he's probably like a low-end wide receiver 3. Now, David says, pick 3, Olave, Lockett, Moss, Addison, and Myers. We're going to go Olave, top 5 implied team total this week. Full PBR, we're going to go Olave, Addison, Myers. Non-PBR, I think we pivot over and we do go Zach Moss. Do really like the matchup against Carolina. Grant says, Rice or Thomas in the flex. Appreciate you, Mason. Appreciate you. Should be a very good offense in New Orleans. A lot of points scored against Chicago. Still probably will go ahead, however, and take Rashee Rice. Now, sleep-deprived animator says, hey, Mason, wide receiver 1's Chase. RB1's Pacheco. RB2 is Cook. Need a wide receiver 2 and a flex between Andrews, Hubbard, Nico, Flowers. I have no idea who the hell our tight end is, but if you're telling me we got Kelsey at tight ends, probably need to go trade away Andrews. And then our wide receiver 2, we're going to go Flowers and our flex spot. I hate to say it. Obviously, you'd way rather have Mark Andrews rest of season. This week, I'm probably going to go ahead of me if we're just talking a flex. I don't know. I'm probably just going to go with the running back that we know has the 3-down workload, right? Probably just going to go Chuba Hubbard. Now, Matt says Saquon for HN and Moss/White. I'm going to go Saquon. 10-team full BBR, 3 receivers, 2 flex. Yeah, especially if we have Hall and CMC as is. I mean, I understand, obviously, this is a horrendous offense, very bad offensive line. I know people are worried about the Saquon high ankles. I mean, look at the workload he had last week, right? I'm not too worried about Saquon Barkley's injury if he's able to go out there and if he's able to see that kind of workload from week-to-week perspective. So I'm just going to go ahead. I am just going to take Saquon Barkley, my friend. Now, Lil Louis says 10-team PBR single flex 6-2. We have Allen, CMC, Saquon, Thielen, Smith, Olave, Hawkinson. And then on the bench, Hollywood, Sanders, Singletary, JSN, Elijah Mitchell, Gabe Davis, HN and Kyler on the IR. Should we do HN, Hollywood for Adams if it's next week? I'd say no, right? I mean, you're going to have HN back very shortly. Kyler Murray is going to come back as well and possibly give that bump up to Hollywood Brown. I understand we have CMC and Saquon Barkley here, so we have a lot of flexibility, and we can go out there and make a move like that if we really wanted to. I just don't necessarily think that we need to, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'd probably rather just sit with Achane. Now, Zero says, pick 2, Nico, Zay, Metcalf, Higgins. We need this win. I'm going to go Metcalf coming off 14 targets. Between Nico, Zay, and Higgins, I think it is up to you. If I knew that Higgins was 100% healthy, I would say it'd be Higgins relatively easily. The issue is we just simply don't know that. If you look at my flex rankings this week, I had Higgins at 36 and Flowers at 37. So really it is up to you there, my friend. I simply have no idea. I'd say Higgins has higher ceiling based off the game environment he'll be in. Trevor, always happy to see you, says, my man, the long saga of finding a running back has come to an end. We got Eckler for Lamb. Great move. It's an 8-team happy BR format. Little worried about my wide receiver until Jefferson comes back, but I think I made the better deal. I mean, if you're just looking at an 8-team league, right, the replaceability of the wide receiver position is going to be sky high. It's going to be so damn easy to go out there and find a wide receiver to play. Whereas running back, it will be much harder to come by. I didn't draft Austin Eckler at all this year, and I actually have a lot of CeeDee Lamb. But, I mean, any league that I have Austin Eckler in, I'd be happy to go out there and make the swap. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you are looking at Eckler, this is a running back that's in a better situation than he was coming into the season, right? I mean, this is a running back that with no Mike Williams, they're going to have to heavily rely upon as a receiver here. So, yeah, I don't know. I like it. I think you can go Eckler, my friend. Now, Tyler says, Megan moves this week. Traded Kincaid for Thielen. Also, Adams and Flowers for AJ. I like him. Especially if we have Hawkinson on the team. If you have Hawkinson on the team, great moves. Now we have Mahomes, Eckler, Bijan, Gibbs, Hubbard, Spears, AJ, Thielen, Pittman, Smith, Jefferson, Hawkinson. Yeah, so I'd say this is one of those teams that has the embarrassment of riches, right? So, I mean, if we could go out there and honestly, this is a team that I'd be looking to see if we could go and pivot from like Adam Thielen and TJ Hawkinson and pivot up to Travis Kelce. Maybe like Jahmyr Gibbs, TJ Hawkinson, and see if we can pivot up to Travis Kelce. It's like any move like that, that'd be possible for us. I think we want to go ahead and we want to take advantage of. I love that. But I think that should be it for this live stream. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to keep this short and brief. Thank you, of course, for hanging out with us. If you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We're going to wake up, crack it on a bar to make sure that we go live as early as possible to answer as many questions for you as we possibly can. And of course, we'll be drafting tomorrow morning as well. And still, always go check out those pick'ems on Underdog. So if you want to get in a draft with us tomorrow morning, or if you want to go check out any of those pick'ems like DJ Moore, more than less than 59.5 receiving yards, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and the Lamar Jackson special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. So make sure you are taking advantage of that. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you, and really hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow morning.